We're looking forward to getting back to work tomorrow. Had players in last night and finished up the last game, and we look forward to coming up with a nice game plan. And this will be a really good game. This is a very talented team. I think this group on offense is probably the most talented, athletic, skill players that we faced this year. And obviously they've had a lot of success. Their quarterback's a good player, and so it'll be a great challenge for our defense, great challenge for our team. Certainly going to need every bit of Tuesday and Wednesday's practice and Thursday's polish to get ready for the game this weekend.
Coach, West Virginia, they do quite a bit of stuff offensively. They can throw deep, shovel pass, and they have a pretty good running game. Let's talk about the challenges in defending that.
Well, there's no question they're well-rounded. They're throwing for a lot of yards and running for a lot of yards, and their quarterback still has an unbelievable touchdown to interception ratio. And really, for him, interception to incompletions for the most part is pretty incredible. Their running backs are successful in gaining some yards, and we got to run to the ball and be good on defense, no question.
Lots of familiar faces that'll be on that opposite sideline this Saturday. What's that going to be like?
Well, once you get in a game, it's not really any different than any other game. They would be much more familiar with us, obviously, than we are with them. They've been here. We only know them. We don't know their players. But once the game gets going, in most cases, you actually forget who's on the other side.
Do you have any favorite Dana memories you could share that we could use?
There's probably enough of those for you to find on your own. Dana was good for us when we made the transition in whatever year that was, two years ago, 3 years ago, I guess. It was good that we were able to make a smooth transition and be able to put up some good offensive numbers and score points. So it was good that he was able to come in here, and we learned a lot from his system.
What's the over-under that it takes, you think, for Dana to lose control of his hair? Where it goes out?
Well, I don't know. I have not kept up with that. Again, I very seldom watch other teams play on TV. I did see a little of their game. Well, I don't know when it was. It's been a few weeks ago, but I haven't kept up with much of that.
Coach, can you talk a little about the K-State loss? And I know it's hard to win with 5 turnovers, and I thought at times the tackling was lacking.
Well, what we said after the game was 5 turnovers, 240 yards in returns, poor tackling. We didn't protect for the quarterback. Those are ingredients for not winning a game, much less a team that's second in the country on the road. There really wasn't any bright spots, in my opinion. If there were, it would be that if you score at the end of the game with 2 minutes and 20 seconds, and you're within a touchdown after all that. So I was disappointed in our coaches. I was disappointed in our players, and I go back to the same philosophy that I was told a while back. If you think you coach good, just turn the tape on and watch. And so obviously we didn't coach very good. Our plan we thought was good, but the players didn't get it, and we didn't execute. And so it was a lost opportunity for us. Can't do anything about it. That's the way it is in college football. You got to keep moving forward, and our players will come back tomorrow and work hard. The coaches are working hard today, and just got to press on.
Another game with an explosive return man. After last week's game, do you stress that a little bit more, knowing you got a guy like Tavon Austin coming into town?
We can't stress any more than what we faced during the week, and that's why I'm expressing some disappointment. I was disappointed after the game. I was disappointed yesterday, and I'm disappointed today because when I was in here last week, I talked about return yards. I talked about turnovers, and I talked about making big plays and limiting theirs. Out of all those areas, all we did was limit their big plays. They hit us on a double move on Gilbert. But for the most part, the percentage of big plays that they've had, we limited those. But we failed in turnovers, we failed in tackling, and we failed in return yards. And so I'd like to be able to say we're going to stress it more and it makes me feel better, but we stressed it a lot last week. So what we have to do, to answer your question, is we have to prepare and practice it and make sure that the players understand it, and then we have to play with great effort because the guy we played last week is really good. This guy is a different really good. There's times that he's gotten big returns and he doesn't even go where they blocked him. He goes the other way. He's special. And in fact, he reminds me a lot of Parrish Cox in his return games.
Do you kick away from it, out of bounds?
I've watched every one of the kickoffs, kick returns, I guess, for them. And I'm sure that our other coaches that are involved in it have. And we haven't been fortunate enough to have that meeting yet. We wanted to eat first and then have the meeting.
Coach, talk a little bit about Clint Chalk and the opportunity he had Saturday night and what he did.
Very proud of Clint. Unfortunately, I've had to say a number of times this year, I'm very proud of whoever was out there. I was thrilled with what Wes did and then thrilled with what JW did. Wes came back and had played good. He did not play very good up there in the first half. And then Clint comes in, and for the first time ever when it counted for the most part, and handled it very well. Made a poor throw at the end and got intercepted, but before that, threw the ball very well, was mobile, ran the ball effectively. His reads were pretty good. But what I was most pleased with was his demeanor and the way he handled himself. We've been very fortunate to have 3 quarterbacks play this season that have 0 experience, and them, for the most part, handle themselves fairly well in some pressure-packed situations.
What's that say about the way you're either identifying or developing quarterbacks that you've had 3 guys be able to come in?
You'd like to say that we're doing things right. I do believe that. I believe the system is set up for success. One concern that we've all had, everybody here knows, our offense, that experience makes you a better player in our system. We rely heavily on the quarterback making good decisions, and they get better at that through reps and experience and years of service. And so to a certain extent, we're doing the right thing. Now, obviously, whatever impressions we had on Wes last week weren't good because we threw the ball to him too many times and they ran it in for touchdowns. But overall, for those 3 guys, they've done fairly well for the situations they've been thrown into.
At what point this week do you hope to know who your starter will be, or do you know?
Well, I don't think we know who our starter will be. I'm fairly confident that we'll have Wes and Clint out there practicing and be in a situation that whoever we think gives us the best chance to be successful, we'll have in the game.
How much more confidence did you get from Clint just from his performance on Saturday night?
Pretty large sum, just from because we didn't really know. He's been really good for us in a lot of areas, but until you're out there in a key situation and you have to make plays, you never really know how a young man's going to react. And so I was very pleased with the way he performed. And we can all sit around and talk like it never happened, and we can just kind of sweep it under the rug and act like it goes away. But I think there's probably a chip on his shoulder that said, hey, I want to show these guys. And that's okay. That's the way life is. I'm fired up. If he ends up playing a considerable number of plays from this point on, I think it's great that he has that kind of fire and motivation, and I just kind of made that up. I don't know that he actually feels that way, but I know sometimes in life when people are challenged, they react differently. And so I think it was awesome. I thought he did a great job and handled himself very professional, and I would say that he gained more respect from the team than what he had going into it, just because he did it in a tough situation.
Mike, if Clint channeled some sort of emotion to use that to play better when he came in that situation, you got a game Saturday that, and some of us in the media, we make way too much of the storylines, but there's a chance for a lot of emotion. A lot of your players were recruited by Joe. Almost all of them, that were here before, touched either Joe, special teams, defense, or Dana his 1 year at offense. Guys want to show guys that they used to play for that they're pretty good. I mean, do you channel that at all this week, or do you let the players do whatever?
Well, I think several things you said are true. One is made way too much made out of it. But if you guys were just writing stories on us, it'd be boring and it wouldn't sell papers and nobody'd watch the TV. So I got no problem with that. Second thing is the relationship between those coaches and players that are on our team is I would say probably still pretty good. I don't keep up with those situations, and I don't really talk to people on the phone. I haven't talked to my brother in 6 weeks, much less anybody else around the country for the most part. So there's some ties just because of the way it all panned out, but it really doesn't have much effect on the game. I hate to put a damper on everybody's stories if that's what you were going to write, but I would hope that our players will prepare and go out and execute based on our situation in Oklahoma State playing West Virginia. And I'm going to guess that that'll probably be the same way up there. Don't know for sure.
That might stop it.
Well, I mean, I just, it is what it is. I wish I could say that we were going to, do something special, but we're just trying to get over the last one.
I got a lighthearted question. Tomorrow's the election. If you had to pick one person on your team that you would one day vote for president, who would it be?
Well, the first thing I'd have to do is check their political science grades. But if just going on their wherewithal, their honesty, their willingness to follow through on a plan, I would say it would be Cooper Bassett. Nice-looking guy, he's got some charisma. Charisma goes a long ways nowadays in elections.
He's getting a lot of votes today.
He is. See? Nobody even prepped me for that one.
Mike, is it a good attitude to have by the offensive side of the ball, because to say that we could possibly have career days because of the struggles West Virginia has consistently had on defense this year?
You talking about our offense?
Yeah.
The interesting concept with the games in our league is trying to understand why the score comes out the way it does each week. And we've talked about this. We could go on here till it gets hot in here again, the air kicks off. But I don't know that anybody can figure out for the most part. And so we've got an offensive line that needs to improve and be more physical. We have wideouts that are young and need to be in the right spot and make plays. We had a few guys that grew up a little bit last week, but they still have a long ways to go. Running backs that need to continue to run hard and take good care of the football. And then we're still in a development stage at the quarterback position. Even if Clint plays, there's still development going on with him. Now, he's pretty knowledgeable of what's going on and gives us quite a bit of flexibility in what we do on offense because he throws it pretty well and he's mobile. He can run it a little bit. So I guess the answer would be that we've got enough going on here that we need to worry about ourselves executing, much less trying to run up any numbers, because I'm sure that I've gotten through some of it, but not all of it. They're going to continue to get better. There's some adjustments going on with a new coordinator. It is what it is. A guy comes in as a first-year coordinator. It's not the easiest thing in the world to get to know the players and execute whatever scheme or system. So there's some adjustments going on, and I would guess as it goes on that they will improve.
Here's another lighthearted question. The last time you competed with West Virginia, you were a quarterback and you saw sunshine, snow, and all kinds of stuff in El Paso, Texas. What do you remember about that Sun Bowl?
Well, we practiced the day before in shorts, about 75 degrees, and then we finished the game in a snowstorm. I remember that the very next year, the same team we beat played for the national championship against Notre Dame in a Fiesta Bowl. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Exact same team. And they were 6-5 when we played them in the Sun Bowl. And when we watched them on tape, we knew they were really good. They had the quarterback who was a good player. They had that wideout that was like 6'4". Back then, there wasn't wideouts like that except the one we had here. And then they had 2 or 3 guys that played in the NFL on defense. And we knew they were really, really good, wondering how they were 6-5. And then we beat them and didn't really get a lot of credit for beating them. and then next year they played for the whole thing.
Compared to the last 3 or 4 years or so, what has changed defensively in terms of turnovers?
For our team?
Yeah.
Well, we're just not as opportunistic. You have to have a number of players around the ball, and then you have to tackle well to get turnovers. The 2 games before this, we were better. We went out and played a team that's turned it over 4 times this year in, I think, 8 games. We may have been their 9th game. And we weren't able to do anything different than what they've been able to accomplish all year. So we didn't force any turnovers. But turnovers are about players being around the football. And so we have to continue to run to the football.